Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything is working correctly here. Yeah. Alright, welcome. Welcome. Hopefully everyone's able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead and all that fun stuff. As always, before we jump on the right side of the screen there, very important to go through and understand everything that is inside the morning prep PDF there. So make sure to take some time and read through that. And then, of course, understand that when you're watching on YouTube or any of the other YouTube connections, the stream does have between like a little bit of a delay, 5 and 30 seconds, which will definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at any given moment. All right. Just want to take a second, like we do every day, to thank all of our new members, subscribers, Academy students, VIPs, and everyone in between. Welcome to the SSFTG fam. I'm super excited to have you all on board. If you aren't part of the SSFTG fam yet, there are a ton of different ways to join up. The easiest way is to join as a YouTube member, and that's with the join button below the stream there on the YouTube side of things. It gets you in the chat room and Discord, the YouTube community board, the stock and crypto chart posts, and just a bit more behind the scenes and what's going on. Of course, if you want to understand what it is that we're doing every day, then look no further than the Day Trading Academy and VIP and everything else that's waiting for you over at ssftg.com. So if you're here for the first time or the 1000th, good morning, welcome. I hope you're all ready to rock and roll alongside me today, analyzing these crazy markets of ours. Let's take a look at some charts, take a look at some news and all that fun stuff, get things rocking and rolling. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, good morning. All right. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you on the Major 7. Nasdaq, SP, Gold, Crude Oil, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. The news calendar looks like it's a glitch. It's not. That's all the news there is today. It's a very, very quiet day today as far as the news calendar is concerned. I thought my charts were messed up when I looked at the news. There legitimately is almost none. All there is today is the API weekly crude oil stocks. There's probably some small news announcements, medium and large. It is totally empty. Very quiet day today. Cheezo pizza euro. The euro looks like a freaking nutcase. Anyway, let's jump into some charts. Take a look at what's going on. There's not really anything on the news calendar, that's for sure. So, looking at the Nasdaq, I mean, it keeps going up. What else do you say? You know, it keeps going higher. So I guess as long as it keeps going up, buyers are going to keep buying, right? That would be the common sense thing to do. The big thing that we've got going on here is that there hasn't even been a lower low. Like the last time we had a lower low pullback was over here, and that was very short-lived before screaming all the way back up to the highs. So there's been very, very little trapping, and the last time we saw this was on Ethereum. Ethereum had a similar situation to this on, what was it, an hourly? I don't even remember when that was now, but where it just never had a low, all the way up. Eventually, when they finally do pull back, buyers buy into it like it's going out of style, of course. But, you know, as it stands, this hasn't even started to nothing. It's just going up. I mean, what do we have to work with? Like, they haven't even come back to the lows. That fits as a spike in channel, but man, they are not making this easy. How about if we do it like this? Let's get real tight up in there on that little inside swing. That holds it over here. Okay. And then we can park it on that high there. There we go. I mean, it's a little fuzzy, but it gets the job done. We've got some halfway decent bullish support coming in on the bull channel, working its way to the upside. And, you know, here again, we can still see that there's not been really any lows. If we're looking at the overall rotation to the upsides, man, when did it even start? Over here. So the initial roll, where the sellers would have still been trying to take over, all happened inside of here. Whoop, this is a 15-minute chart. Hang on. There we go. And we have that POC balance point, which is right around there at 668.50. Now, as far as traders going into this zone, downside objectives and all of that, if they were looking for this to break down and the sellers to take over, it was a total failure. Did not get anything going from that perspective. The sellers tried getting that roll to the downside. It started off with here I am recording I recorded the tutorial again. Hang on. Gotta switch back to my homies. There we go. So the overall continuation to the downside, we've got an L5 off the top with a further move down into an L4, and now we have almost an L3, and they put in a little bit of a lower low and then totally missed, ran all the way back to the downside. I mean, just total failure, right? I mean, absolutely missed the move. In terms of the momentum down, if sellers were looking for anything, it's hard to say that they achieved anything, but likely they were given a chance to at least get out of break even. Now, we don't know if they actually took that, but they were given a chance to, at least. That's something. So from a perspective of them being thrown a bone, they were thrown a bone, at least. If we continue this back to the upside, to the next new high then, that POC doesn't change. That's still back at 17. Let's go up to the new high. Still at 17. Up to the next high. No change. Up to the next high. We have a change. Let's keep that going. Up to the next one, up to the next one, up to the next, up to the next, into where we are now. So no POC changes from there. So if we're looking at this from the perspective of potentially stuck shorts, we also have this initial shorter rotation over here. That was the POC way down at the bottom. So if sellers were trying to get something going realistically, doubtably, they were selling way the heck down there, considering it didn't even make it through it. And now with a rotation back up, we see that the shorts are kind of stuck. And if they had an average, their average would be just eyeballing it right at around 15,100, just between the two. That would be the break-even point. Now, of course, that's assuming that they haven't sold anything else since then, which I guarantee you they have. But as it stands, the break-even point from a pure logical perspective would be at 15,100. What a nice spot for the market to crash down to, huh? Where it is now, we're not really seeing a whole lot other than sideways, but again, higher lows all the way across. This looks like... Man, it's just such this butted up right against the highs, and it's having a heck of a time. What kind of consolidation? Crazy. I mean, the POC's got to be up at the top, right? Wow, it's not. I wasn't expecting that. All right, well, 15,785. That's that double bounce retest there. Trying to break above the highs. They haven't gotten it yet. The S&P is the same story. I mean, it hasn't stopped going higher. Constantly up, 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 up. In terms of a pullback, I mean, realistically, any pullback is going to be nice. A dip below a previous swing. Anything. Bulls would love to get anything. It's few and far between that they're actually getting anything that's worthwhile. But, you know, overall, it's not a bad spot. It would just be really nice to see it dip back down a little lower to like the 45.83s. And even then, we don't really have any probability or anything there. So, ugh. The S&P's in no man's land too. Over on gold, sharp and pointy as ever. Not really much of a change from that perspective. If we're going from the top, well, I mean, geez, where do we even start this thing? We've got to zoom out to the 60-minute to see anything. So, first off, this is coming off of a perpetual bear trend off of the 1920s. Wow. All the way down to 1676. Oof. Now, after that low has been hit, they haven't really done much else. Been kind of sideways. So, with this bigger perspective, let's try it again. With this bigger perspective, this is kind of what we were just talking about on some of the other markets with a really, really strong bull breakaway move. They finally get a trap, dips underneath it, spends very little time there, and goes screaming higher. If the market can return back down to that, that would be about the -1 DP, which does help from a probability standpoint as well. That would be the swing zone of interest for the longs to try to kick it back up. If we're looking at... Are these on logarithmic? No, they're linear. Okay. How would that look from a risk standpoint? If we had another entry there with a stop down at the low, it's about 100 and 1120 or so. 3 to 1 doesn't quite fit there, but man, they can make it. Just down at the DP, a little under. There we go. A little higher. Little lower. There we go. All right, so as far as a swing perspective for gold, we've got interest down at the 81.2s. That would be for a higher low transitional phase back to the upside. Of course, the risk perspective is got to be kind of on the lower side. We're looking at lower probability, higher reward versus risk. It's a 3 to 1. So probability can't ever really be that great when you're looking at a 3 to 1. And realistically, from the perspective of highs and lows, we are making new lows and a lower high. So we're early to the party is what I'm getting at here. And if you're early to the party, you've got to try to make it as beneficial as possible. A 2 to 1 isn't good enough. You've got to go for a 3 to 1. Even a 5 to 1 might be more beneficial. And speaking of, let's see where that 5 to 1 would put it. I would like to get a 5 to 1 that gets an entry with a target ahead of settlement. I mean, if I'm going to get greedy on the entry, then I might as well just get greedy on the entry. That bad boy is going to be down there. 76.1. Hey, Ace, how's it going? Maurice, everybody else so far? Good morning, good morning. So those are going to be the swing zones of interest for gold back to the upside. See if they're able to get it continuing. But remember, we are in a sharp, pokey market. And, well, it might slide down there very quickly. It might feel like you're catching a falling knife. I'm approaching it with a little bit more of a tight stop, high reward type scenario here. But we'll see how it wants to play out. On crude oil, the only thing we've got going today on the news calendar is API. So, I mean, crude's kind of the limelight today, I guess. We've got all of that support coming in off of the lows. Huge support coming in off the 81s. Monstrous. As far as the rotation, we do now have a new high as well. Ooh, do they have a new high? Hang on now. Ooh, man. Hey, wait, wow. Is that a double top? Really? A double top, huh? Oh, that's not cool. All right, so I mean, technically they don't have a new high. Technically. It's a little bit irritating. It's a double top. Take it how you will. We're getting a little bit hung up at those eyes. That's really ridiculous. The fact that they couldn't break a high, that's not a new high to me. So we don't have any new confirmed swings. The only thing that we have is a possibility of a trap underneath the lows. So from that perspective, I can't, in right consciousness, back this move to the upside because it hasn't proven itself. We haven't broken above the highs. What I would like, though, obviously the bulls are winning the fights, is just to buy a little bit cheaper. I don't want to buy way down on, way up at the high. I want to buy on the low. So somewhere down around the -1.5, down there would be pretty nice. That would put risk underneath the last low. That certainly doesn't fit a 3 to 1. Doesn't even fit a 2 to 1. Get a little bit of a blow off. How far down do we have to go to get it in settlement? A little more? A little more? There we go. So if we can get a slide down on crude to 82.25, that would be a zone of interest for the bulls to try to keep it going back to the upside. If we're looking at it a little bit further beyond that, then honestly, I would rather look at it as a trap on the base. That just makes a heck of a lot more sense to me, and we can fit a 3 to 1 inside of that. Yeah. No, not MIT. 81.40. So 81.40, 82.25, those are the zones of interest. 82.25 is more of a 2 to 1 and may even possibly approach it as more on the scalp side of things. But, I mean, if we're looking at it, that's a -2 DP. If they slide down to an 81.40 today, that'd be a 2.5, maybe even a 3 DP. That'd be crazy. The probability of that continuing down there is just absurdly low. Over on the euro, we have a gigantic Whipposaurus Rex going on here. This thing just looks like a heartbeat at the moment. Right back in the middle, too. Just, wow. Beep. There it is. It's still alive. The euro tried getting the rip to the upside. They totally failed. Collapsed all the way down to a new low. After that low happened, that was about it. Now, this move to the upside, the big question comes in if we zoom out to like a 60-minute perspective. Is this just a continuation of the downside? I mean, one of my favorite setups that I talk about over and 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 over again are those swing high traps in a perpetual downtrend. It's one of my absolute favorites. So we come back and we look at the previous major confirmed swings. That would be this one right here, which nobody showed up to the party. Or this one, which not anybody showed up to the party initially, but boy did they start afterward. Resistance, 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 resistance. This little whip to the upside. This is one of those scenarios where you hear me talking about what's the most vindictive thing that can happen right now. If I were a short, what is the most vindictive thing that can happen right now? It'd be jump up and take out those stops, right? Because everybody's shorting inside of here, looking for it to rotate down. So they put their stops above the highs. Right? Surely it shouldn't get taken out. That's a new swing high. Bing! just to see it go screaming all the way back down to the lows. Now, it never actually broke down to a new low, and that is definitely something to be noted. The sellers may have lost their grip a little bit. They tried getting that rotation down. That was a very, very vindictive trap. Maybe this rotation up is just simply the bulls getting out. If we were looking at that last move from the bottom all the way up to that vindictive SOB of a high, then that would put a POC. Wow. Right on top of settlement. Bruh. Oh, man. All right, that's right where we are right now. So this is where sellers on the euro are going to start trying to push back down. And that could be longs getting out of their longs around break even if they were looking for that rotation to the upside. Look out below. This could get real dangerous real fast. Over on Bitcoin, we're grinding our way up. Nice little pulse to the upside, breaking another new high, but not breaking any confirmed swings as of yet. Very close. It's got a little more to go, but not quite yet on Bitcoin. Still waiting. Just kind of sideways. Ethereum is breaking above those highs, breaking above confirmed swings, and breaking the highs, breaking the top and keeping on going. So Ethereum is off to the races, still rocking and rolling back off to the highs and continuing its rally. Still no new lows on here either. Jeez. All right. Get going over there. So obviously we've got gold and crude kind of hanging out and waiting. Those are the swings that, I mean, that could take a while for that to actually finish up. Just along that mindset, then the most voluminous markets today on Femex are Ethereum, Link, and Engine. Engine, ENJ. Now I don't know if Coinbase has Engine. Yeah, I didn't think they did. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to look at Engine. What's next? Mana is after that, so I guess we'll stick with Mana then. So we've got Ethereum, we've got Link, and we've got Mana. Although Engine is technically above that. Do they have DOT? I'm sick of looking at Mana. They don't have DOT either. Man, Coinbase sucks. They have Tezos? Jeez. Mana on the 5 minutes, like, useless. The only one of interest that's setting up, and it's not even on Coinbase, it's Wi-Fi. I think Wi-Fi has some seriously crazy potential to go nuts. Same with Maker and some of the others. Wi-Fi looks like, man, this could get real. If you've ever traded Wi-Fi before, you know that market goes freaking crazy, and it does it out of nowhere. That's YFI, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. Yankee Foxtrot India. You're trying to short at 650. All right, let's take a look internally here. So far, nothing's happened. It's dead quiet. Man alive. Obviously, if we were to draw a volume profile across all this, probably going to be smack in the middle. Little bottom weighted, of course, because there's more volume and more candles down. I mean, as it stands, if we're looking at the initial impulse to the upside, that POC was smack in the middle. When they came up to the double top, the POC shifted to the upside. The sellers tried taking it back to the lows, but they failed to make a new low and created a balance point right around that 870, and that's sort of where the range kind of began kicking off. The longs started piercing back above that area, and well, now we've got a zone of interest, right? I mean, the bulls are trying to get it going, but settlement's just above. This last pop to the upside certainly doesn't look like it's doing too great, considering that might very well be a twin reversal. 15,880 could be a little bit of a barrier this morning. Although I do really like the concept of BTFDing more than selling today. Those little swing low dips. I mean, we've still got like 8 minutes left, but on the 5-minute perspective, it really puts it into some obvious here. This thing's a mess. It's not doing anything. It looks like the longs tried getting a continuation phase to the upside. If we were looking at this from the bulls' perspective and we got rid of all of the other candles and we were looking at it like this, it looks pretty bullish, right? Bulls are trying to break above the highs. They're really close to the top. They're getting a bunch of wicks on the highs, maybe running out of steam in the short term pullback, something along those lines. That might be the dip. Do they come in? Buyers push it back up, but not very long. Running out of steam. The scalpers are having some difficulty. Sellers may be trying to take back over. Nope, they got trapped. Reversing back up. Now the sellers are stuck from down here. So trying to build context, right? If the sellers are stuck with an engulfing entry down at the lows, then the bulls would like to see it come back to 83 if they're able to, but they couldn't get it. So the shorts who are still stuck. Now they come back. They've got the entry point underneath the lows. They were filled at break even. So on the engulfing, they've finally been given a chance to get out at break even all the way down at the lows, and we start seeing reversal momentum back to the upside. So it looks like the longs were definitely trying to get something going. The shorts even looked like they felt like they were a bit stuck. But then this happened, right? Now the longs are like, whoa, wait a minute, what? Back up, hit the rewind. We got some problems here. Now, it's not to say that the bulls won't win the fight, but this is a different kind of bull, right? These are the bulls who are buying up here looking for a higher low continuation, L1, L2, right? Aggression. These are the L4s who are looking for that deep dip. Well, we're in the deep dip, and we know that the longs got a little bit dumpstered. So seeing big wicks like this to the upside, contextually, that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, really, if the longs were trying to get something going, and they got dumpstered, and not really given a chance to get out at break even, what do you think these whip ups are? That's them like, oh, thank God, get me out of this thing. Right? They're jumping. They're buying into the dip, obviously. But when they get rips back up, they're jumping. So let's see where that is. Off the top, down to the lows. Up in the 86s. The first higher low. POC immediately shifts down. 863.75. So you can see they're buying it like it's going out of style. The next higher low. POC stayed relatively put. The next higher low. Yeah, it's around the same area. You get the idea. All of it's been supportive so far. All of them. Every single one of them. We just recently shifted the POC up to 70. So it doesn't look like the sellers are winning any fights right now. If anything, it looks like the sellers are getting crapped on pretty viciously from that perspective. Now, from the S&P, looking at the way that the S&P is kind of churning around, we were talking about how the longs would want to buy off of this zone of interest. And when they come back to that area, going for those 2-to-1s, 3-to-1s, 5-to-1s, a lot of times they'll re-up in those areas, which they did. The market came back up and tagged that zone to the tick. So the fact that we're hitting that area, and again, that area specifying a 2-to-1 in this case, the 2-to-1 bulls to the upside off of that POC shift from before. And if you don't know where that's coming from, that's from back over here into this POC cluster. Now, either way, the bulls are getting the bounce up. They held it kind of dirty. It was a little bit of a gross move down, sort of a triple bottom, a little bit of a trap underneath the lows. Gotta love it. I mean, they got the job done, right? It wasn't the best of jobs in the world, but they got the job done, and a rotation back to the upside. So with this momentum down, what would the sellers be thinking then? Let's look at the impulse. Obviously, the POC is going to be back in the middle here because they found some balance. So if these were longs, right, put yourself in the shoes of those longs. Look at the overall context that happened before this. I know it's easy to say in hindsight, I would never go long there. That would be dumb. But you've got to be honest with yourself, right? There's a very valid reason why buyers would BTFD into that. It didn't work. The benefit of hindsight, right? But BTFDers who are looking to buy into this move with really, really small stops, but really, really big targets back up to the highs, it fits. I can't argue with them. The probability's terrible. They know that, so they're offsetting it with reward. Good on them. It didn't work. Welcome to probabilities. But the traders who are looking to buy into that and build into that, what will they do? They're not just going to eat the stop on the way down. We're talking JP. We're talking thousands of contracts. They can't just do that, right? They've got to slowly float their way out. So as the market's working its way down and it makes a higher low, what does it do? Well, it floated their way down. It doesn't take away the validity or the importance of that earlier POC. That's the impulse POC. But you got to remember what they're trying to do here. They're buying into it. So as it starts going higher, what realistically is going to happen? We're probably going to start seeing them take scalps off the table. The scalp zone is right here. It made its way a little bit through it, but inevitably, the scalp target was right there. So when we're going back and forth, we get another higher low, but it is a trap. The POC doesn't change. We've got more continuation back to the upside, more scalpers. We can see the congestion with a breakout to the highs. So if they're going to follow this through, where's their next target, right? Well, we better see, did they change anything? Well, the POC's way the heck up here now. That kind of sucks. So if they're going to be going for that, well, all they have really is a scalp now. And the scalper's target's way the heck up here at 14.25. BTFD is buy the effing dip. That's a crypto term that comes with the territory of of crypto with its 70 and 80% pullbacks. So we've got a higher low transition with a little bit of a trap and a POC landing back at 605. It doesn't help the bulls at all. In fact, if the bulls want to come in, they're going to want to dip back down. Their targets are up at 14.25, something like that. A little bit more, maybe. We'll have to wait and see, but it's not very favorable for the bulls on the S&P's perspective, although, that said, we're still seeing the bulls eat the lows like it's going out of style. Well, it might look a little nicer, though, for the S&P. Get that little trap back down in the 4600s. Wow, that's an extra long line. Can you stop doing that, please? Jeez. Get a dip back down into here. 4600s, 4605s. Twos in that area. That'd be nice. Clock got set back here in Holland. Market opens in 2 minutes. Yeah, that's correct. Yep, right around the corner. Hey, Sinai, how's it going? And Bram, good morning. Everybody else so far, good morning, good morning. So as it stands for the index markets, looks like the bears aren't winning too many fights, but they're trying to in the short term. I would love to see that dip down in the open, flash underneath some swing lows to trap them. Get down in those 860s, 850s. Here's the open. Made it down to 65. Well, crap. Man, this thing, I tell you. Rotten bugger. I mean, technically they did get a swing low trap. I just wanted one that was with a little more substance, I guess. But, yeah, you get greedy, you miss a trade, you know? I like Wi-Fi as one of the next big ones, personally. YFI on the crypto side of things. But we're at the open right now, so those are going to be my focus. When do you guys set back? What is it? Hang on. When do clocks change in US? Google will know what I mean. November 7, yeah. So Sunday. This upcoming Sunday is when things change. Freaking daylight savings. I hate daylight savings time. Or the opposite of it. Nothing like, you know, starting off the day with work and it's dark, and then ending the day picking your kids up from school and it's dark. Like, great. Awesome. Glad I missed the whole effing day. Thanks. Freaking ugh. Nasdaq bulls getting continuation back up. There wasn't a big enough dip. I really, really wanted a dip at the open, but they couldn't get it. S&P with more continuation back to the upside as well. The S&P also had a pullback, but not much. Ooh, here we go. Nasdaq with a little flushy. Some inside stops underneath these lows, or shorts who tried going short might hit inside here, but I like the low 70s. Well, you're a bit north. Yeah, I know. Comes with the territory, right? Nasdaq got to 72.50 for a millisecond. S&P going bull engulfing back up to the highs. We did technically get the low 70s, but I wasn't fast enough to hit something like that. We are in algo territory right now. Be careful. Another thing that you can do, and this isn't an indicator that I've had on the chart for quite a while, in fact, but it's the bid-ask. Let me see if I can find this thing. Is it? I don't even remember what the stupid thing's called. I think Priceline has it on there, though. Yeah. All right. So that red and green line is the bid-ask, and you can see how much space there is at times between there. There's like 3, 4, 5 points of space at times when it jerks around. That really is a visualization of that volatility. That's what you're seeing right now. Beautiful flush to the downside for the bulls to snap it back up, and the scalp back out with that pulse. Very nice. Finally got a little bit of a swing low trap dip there. See if they can go a little bit lower, but we got that dip into the 70s. Next zone's going to be like probably the 65s or maybe even a little under. Wow, what a rejection. Maybe not. Holy crap. S&P getting a little bit of a dip down here. See if I can grab it on the bid for the S&P. 6-quarter up to 7-quarter. 5-quarter and 4-quarter. I like this area for the scalpers on the S&P to try to get this to pulse back to the upside. Got it back off of settlement, a little bit ahead of settlement. Nasdaq demonstrating more continuation back to the upside. S&P testing the target, filling the target. There we go. Beautiful rally up on the Nasdaq, pulsing all the way through the highs. I only grabbed the one on the Nasdaq, but if there were multiple, that offered up a nice little run. After a bit of a vindictive slide down, S&P was my compensation for it. We've got more rallying back to the upside. S&P showing support off of settlement. Nasdaq breaking through settlement now. We're back up at these highs. Man, I have a hard time trusting these highs. 935 is done. What a 5-minute bar on the S&P. What is that? Wow. Okay. Jeez. More continuation to the upside. If we're looking at the overall cycling that's going on, although it's very minuscule, we've got an L4, which led into an L3, which led into an L4, which led into an L2. Then they got the L3. Then we broke higher from there. L3 into an L1. A little bit of a juke inside of there. L4, L3, L4, L3, L4, L2. Just kidding. L3. You can feel that vindictiveness inside here. Link hovering above the 32s, but really the major point of support is likely going to be down in the 3175s. As far as Ethereum goes, I would love to see it dip down to 44.15. I just don't think that we're going to get that 44.15. More likely we see 44.40 instead. Mana's got some room. I'm going to jump on a 15 for Mana. Wow, that's gross. That looks awful. Well, kinda. Man, does it though? Man, not, you know, that looks kind of bullish. Ooh, man, Mana's looking kind of interesting when we zoom out to a 15. I'm not a huge fan of all those wicks above the top, though. I got to start showing up to the party. Interesting. Mana could be on deck here. Nasdaq with a little more continuation. Whoop, this is not the 5-minute chart. That is. Big jump to the upside. Bulls with a bit of extra continuation as well. Man alive. What a mover. As far as gold goes, yeah, they've still got some room. Crude, same thing. Quite a bit of room. Nasdaq's gone ripping all the way up to the highs. Inside little scalpers pullback may be feasible if they can get a little flash down into the lower 15s, 16s, somewhere in there. Got a small little consolidation here. A false break low for bulls to pop it higher would be the next dip. If they're able to get it. Remember, we're in algo territory, so you've got to be able to move fast. That's not the flush I want. Nah, they're buying too aggressively. They're not getting it. All right, well. Man, the Nasdaq. What a move. All right, Nasdaq. 920s, maybe? Maybe? Mana's starting to get a little bit of a dip to the downside. Possible zone of interest. Again, we don't really have any news today. Excuse me. Whoa! That's a bull bar, S&P. Yeah, howdy. Wow. All right. Nice little dip here on the S&P. I'm going to see if I can grab it on the bid for a quick little scalp back to the upside. 1175 would be 1275. Finally got a little bit of a pullback. Testing the target, no fill. Testing the target, no fill. Testing the target, no fill. All right. Three tests, but no fill. Welcome to the S&P. Still looking for the scalp. 1175 would be the zone of interest now. Nasdaq also catching a little bit of a pop to the upside. Testing the target, no fill. Testing the target, no fill. S&P! Come on! Dang it. Alright, S&P did not want to sweep any of them. Still technically looking for a scalp, but it's a scalp with a lot more commission costs now. It tested the target on every single one of my fills, but man, I'll be friggin', I just can't get a fill. Tested that target too, couldn't get a fill. Finally, jeez. Out of the S&P with a scalp, just very expensive commissions now. Thanks for the 7 no fills, ES. So it's, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's nice to see. You know, the S&P isn't always a walk in the park. When you're dealing with liquidity, someone has to buy it from you. Someone has to sell it from you. That's how it works. It's just the way that the market operates. Depending on the platform and certain SIM accounts, you might not get that response, right? So there is some definite good things about seeing it happen because you might not experience that type of thing. But that's the S&P. If you're not familiar with the S&P and how difficult it can be to get a fill sometimes, it's a really good case in point right there. It hit my target on my first entry, didn't get a fill. Hit my target the second time, didn't get a fill. Hit the target on the third time, finally got filled, right? That's the S&P. I'm glad you at least get to see it, even if it is at my expense. You got a no fill on the POC at 9.25. Is that the low? Oh. Oof, I'm sorry, Steven. Oh, mein Herz. That's no good. I feel you, man. It's so frustrating. It's like, it's there. Come on. Some days, man, I tell you, it makes me really want to use MIT orders on the S&P, but I know I'm gonna be the one, be like a record holder. I'm gonna be the one that gets slipped on the S&P. You know? It's like, yeah, I understand every once in a while you get slipped on the ES, maybe a tick at the most. You know. I'll be the one. I'll get like 7 points of slippage because I hit market when someone said something. Like, well, there we go. $9:45, 15 minutes until top of the hour. We don't have any news until this afternoon is the API. Totally null and void calendar today as far as the news. S&P bulls have the continuation phase to the upside, and they're still following through. The Nasdaq did dip at the same time, but it's been way up at the highs for quite a while now. 7 point slip. I don't even know that would be possible on the S&P. 7 point slippage. It's such a liquid market. I mean, man alive, there'd have to be something crazy that would happen. It happens on the Nasdaq though. Maybe not quite 7, but I mean, we've definitely been slipped a couple points. The Nasdaq's vicious when it gets to slipping. Volatility pullback, man. Next zone of interest really on the Nasdaq isn't going to have a whole lot of interest until down at the lows. Had it once with a stop with an extra point loss. Oh yeah, for sure. Tons of times. Especially on the Nasdaq. Holy man. You get slipped like crazy with market orders on the Nasdaq. That's why I use buy, bid, sell, ask. At least if I don't get filled, I didn't get slipped 7 points, you know. Although the market moves so quickly that you will see sometimes I still get bad fills, even with buy, bid, sell, ask. Bulls trying to come in on a bull engulfing on the 500 tick Nasdaq. They may be trying to kick this back to the upside again. It's only a first. That last twin reversal off the lows. Whew. Oh yeah, the S&P. I don't know that I would ever. I mean, for me personally, I don't know that I've ever been slipped more than 2 or 3 ticks, maybe 4 on the S&P. It's like the majority of the times, if there's slippage at all with a market order, it's because you bought like the ask when it was in the wrong spot, so you got slipped like a tick. But generally, the S&P has enough volatility to get away with market, or volume rather, to get away with market orders. Not always, but usually. Let's see. It's been a minute since I've loaded. It's been a really long time since I've loaded a level 2. Whoops, hang on. Nope. I couldn't even remember which ones I'm supposed to load. The instruments, S&P. All right, yeah. So see, like if you're looking at something like this with the S&P, there's hundreds on each side, you know. If I were to hit market, I'm going to get slipped a maximum of like a tick. But if you were to swap this to the Nasdaq, there can sometimes be big, like if I try to pause it, right there is just 2 ticks of difference between the two. And that's just a random pause in Nowheresville. So when there's illiquidity, like during a dump or news or something that really throws people off, yeah, the slippage is going to happen. And it's just part of trading life, you know. Five points in a second, my stop was there. Ugh, that sucks. Yeah, it happens. Nasdaq's done and gone, left the party. S&P's still hanging out. Would love to see a quick little flush under one of these swings. There are going to be so many stops there. But the Nasdaq bulls just keep picking it up. So it's either your aggressive buy at the high and scalp, build, etc., or we just kind of sit and wait. Buy into the wicks. Like it's about the only options you've got right now. You can still measure these as value. It's just the value is not very value. You know, you're like 75 ticks off the highs is the most pullback they've got. 65. So 60, 70 ticks off the top, 80 ticks. That's where the aggressive bulls are stepping up to the plate. Not very much. 10 minutes around the corner to 10 o'clock. What a move. So this is a squeeze, and this is what it looks like when shorts get massively train wrecked. Like we've been talking about all morning, the shorts really didn't have an argument on the Nasdaq. They didn't. What a move, though. Holy crap. Next zone of interest on the Nasdaq is going to be in the low 40s or even high 30s. When I'm talking about the stops, yeah, so good question. When you're talking about the stop losses on the swing lows, are you talking about the Nasdaq or the S&P? Both. The Nasdaq is going to be more important, though, because the Nasdaq is I mean, just look at it. This thing's like a freaking rocket ship. So a lot of traders who are in this move, you know, maybe they bought down here, but they still had a couple contracts. I know I only had the one, but, you know, let's say as an example, you bought 10 down here. You're trading larger size. And you took the scalp with 5, took the settlement with another 2. You get the idea. You're trailing up. And now the last one, you're like, all right, well, what do I do? You know, I don't want to give this whole thing back. I'll trail the stop. Put it here, put it underneath the swing, put it underneath the swing, put it underneath the swing, right? Made a new high, put it underneath the swing. Well, where do you think JP and Goldman and all of their crew is looking to reload again into this bull rally? You remember, they have to liquidate into and load up into hundreds, potentially thousands of contracts. They can't just hit the market button like that, right? And if they are going to, they got to do it in an area where there's a lot of orders happening anyway. What better place than where everybody's getting stopped out? You can float under the radar. You can buy market when you're underneath the swing low and buy with 100 contracts. And what's everyone going to say? Ooh, look at that stop loss. Ooh, someone got taken out. They didn't get taken out. They just bought in. They ate those stops like it was going out of style. Key differences. I mean, look at the gapping right now. The candle gap from there to there. We've got another candle gap from there to there. There's no gap there. So upward gaps would put objectives on the Nasdaq. 84? 984? If we roll that up into the next one, that would project targets up to almost 16,000. So, I mean, really, we can see what's happening, right? This looks like shorts tried selling ahead of 16,000, and they're getting squeezed all the way up to where they didn't think it was going to go. That is a squeeze. That's just ringing them right through the juicer. And when they go through one, we're right into the next one. So what do we have? We know they're stuck short already from the bigger perspective. We talked about that already. But in the short term, where are they stuck from? From this morning, they had their original POC was back here. You go up into the next new high. It doesn't change. Go into the next new high. Doesn't change. Next new high. Doesn't change. Next high. No change. No change. Ooh, no change. No change. No POC change. Holy moly, these shorts are getting railed right now. Oh, man. No wonder they're not even getting new swing lows. Sheesh. You can see they're building up. I mean, you can see very, very obviously the build in volume, but the shorts are getting railed right now. Holy crap. Is there any POC change? They're going to get a new one here in the 95 soon. So that means a dip down into the 10s is going to be what they're going to gun for. That's crazy. What a squeeze. Sheesh. We got training time in 5 minutes, so feel free to get those questions in. We'll get those locked and loaded, then we'll move into the extended session for members and VIPs. And then we'll rock and roll into the rest of the day. So far today, got a couple scalps on the S&P, a little bit of a tough scalp on the second one there. The first one was nice, clean. And the Nasdaq, nice, clean scalp entry into the exit. Unfortunately, in hindsight, should have held on a little longer, eh? Nice little dip down into these swing lows for the bulls to accumulate on this dip. This is that trap on the lows that I'm looking for, but remember, the overall continuation, they could pulse a little bit lower. They're going to try to shift the POC up into the 55s. They haven't done it yet, so we'll probably see a pulse back up into the 55s. First scalper's objective off into that, very obviously. See if they want to push back or if they want to break through. They're starting to push back up against it. All right, I'm going to take that off the table there. Looks like sellers are going to try to re-up that POC up at the highs. We got the scalp out of it anyway, and I'm not going to get look to give back that scalp, especially not at the end of the day. These arrows make it almost impossible to see anything. No POC change yet. I really want one more little pulse. Down into this low volume void down here in the low 30s. Or, sorry, upper 30s, low 40s. Please. Just a little more. Ethereum pushing back up towards the highs. Link looks like it's not too far away to follow in its footsteps. Mana, I'm still waiting for a little bit more proof on Mana, gotta say. That makes me a bit nervous. Halfway decent squeezing and all that fun stuff going on, but if we're just looking at today, not a whole lot of action, honestly, today. But looking at so far this morning, it's been all scalps. 8 total trades. Let's see. Whoops. 8 total trades. Average winning trade was 8. Average losing trade was 4. Ratio's 2-to-1, even with the scalps. That's because it's Nasdaq, and you get the idea. It's been a scalping day. Don't really have to calculate the numbers because I know the numbers are going to be just fine. So it's not too bad of a day. Not a whole lot of action, but I mean, hey, better than nothing. See if we can get some more swings. Not yet. Looking on the swing side of things as we wrap up the morning session, gold and crude still pretty far away from the swing territory. Not there yet. Right around the corner to 10 o'clock. Now, if you're going to be ducking out, don't forget to hit the like button on the way out the door. Do those algorithms some good on the YouTube side. But get those last questions in, and we will we'll roll into the extended session, and we'll get it going. Whoop, whoop. Been a pretty good day so far. I'll take it. You know, scalps are scalps, swings are swings. We didn't get any swing entries yet, but hey, nothing wrong with a couple nice scalps. We can see, excuse me, jeez. We can see on the Nasdaq that the bulls are having a heck of a time, and we know why. They're trying to shift the POC to the upside. So at 867.75, the POC up at 955s or so looks like to be about where they're going to try to shift it. Means that a break-even point in between should put them, give or take, around the 920s, 910s in that zone. But we'll see what they're able to do. But all right, there it is. Alrighty, folks, it's that time again. Got to call it quits on the YouTube side of things. Transition over and finish off the day with VIPs and members on that side. For those of you who are ducking out for the rest of the day, I hope you had an amazing day of trading with me in the room. And if you have any questions that I may have missed, drop them in the comments below or shoot them to me via email, jhb@ssftg.com. For those of you who are hanging out with me and hanging around in the midday and going into the extended session, well, you just got to listen to me babble to myself for a minute, and I hope you're ready to rock and roll. Let's transition over. For everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you all tomorrow, all right? Have a good one. We'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.